Welcome to Yoga Within. My name is Candace and this is Realignment Yoga. So today we're going to need a couple of blocks to squeeze, or perhaps a roll of paper towels and your chair or your ottoman, something that you can come down and put your feet on to start the class and to end the class. So starting in static back, like we do every single class, you're going to come down, you're going to put your legs up on to something that allows your hips to be bent at 90 degrees and your knees to be bent at 90 degrees. And then you want to just let everything settle in. Your arms are out at about 45 degrees, palms are facing up, and you're just going to try to let things settle. So you want to make sure that your feet, your knees, and your hips are all in alignment. So there's a little bit of space in between my feet so that everything lines up with my hip bones. And so you're going just to allow things, your body to settle. If perhaps it doesn't feel comfortable for your head, then it might feel better to have something underneath your head, or rolling up a towel and placing it under the neck. So we want this position to be a comfortable position, not a position that causes you discomfort or pain. And we want to just let everything settle. So this is a position that looks like we aren't doing anything. And the body is sort of relaxing, but the muscles are working hard. So as the muscles, as we try to adjust to the straightness of the floor, for many of us, this can be quite a challenge for our body. So just let it go. You want to notice as you lie here whether or not it feels like things even out on the floor. So you just notice whether or not your hips feel like they are even on the floor, whether your shoulders feel like they're even on the floor, and just generally how this feels. Make sure you're breathing. Really allowing the body to relax and settle. And then just noticing. So if you're doing this at home, staying in here for about 10 minutes is probably optimum. But for some of us, we like to stay in a little bit longer. The benefits of this position really stop being, I guess, benefits after about 10 minutes. So we're just going to take a couple more breaths here. And then you're going to take your feet off your foam block. And you're going to bend your knees. So you want your knees to be bent. And again, you want to make sure that your feet, your knees, and your hips are all in an alignment. And you want your feet to feel like they're a little bit pigeon-toed, which for most of us will make that the outsides of the feet be straight. So now you're just going to take your arms and you're going to bring them out to shoulder width. So the elbows are shoulder width apart. And then you're going to let your hands drop back to the floor. So this is like a goal post or cactus arms. You're going to settle here and see how this feels for you today. So you don't want to force your arms to the floor, you just want to try to let them relax. And you just take a moment to notice on whether or not those arms are even, maybe one arm is higher, and just breathe. Noticing how this shape feels for you. And now take those hands and you're going to drop them down, and you're going to settle here. Sort of like scarecrow arms maybe would be a way to describe this. And you're just setting. Again, your arms, you can see my arms don't come anywhere near the ground, and that's fine. So now leave your right hand where it is. Take your left hand and bring that up to cactus arm or goalpost arms. And now you're just going to alternate. So then as the right arm comes up, the left arm comes down, and you're just going to go back and forth in this position. And you really want to notice as you're going through this range of motion how this feels on the shoulders and the shoulder blades. So what's the scapula, the shoulder blades, what are they doing on this? Feel like there's lots of contortion going around, or does this feel like a fairly easy movement? Just taking it through this range of motion. Let's do a couple more each way. And then bring both those arms. So now the hands are pointing up to the ceiling. The elbows are still bent at 90 degrees. Your hands are lightly closed. You're going to squeeze those shoulder blades together and relax. Squeeze shoulder blades together and relax. So the elbows push gently into the floor, but it's really about what's happening with those muscles in between the shoulder blades. That's what we want to have doing the work as we squeeze and release. So if you think about percentages, your elbow, maybe the push down on the elbows is maybe about 10% of this exercise, and about 90% of this exercise is coming from the squeeze. Noticing if those shoulder blades squeeze together at the same time, and whether it feels like they're even when they're doing that, even in strength, even when they engage. Let's do a couple more. Bring those arms down. So arms can be just down by the side at 45, palms facing up again. Take your right foot and you're going to lift the heel off the ground. So I'm going to show you with my left foot. So I'm lifting my heel off the ground, my toes stay on the ground. So we're lifting up the right heel, that right toe stays on the ground. And then with the left foot, we're just going to lift up that left foot only about 4 to 6 inches off the ground and then set it back down. So we're lifting and setting back down. So you want to try not to use the stomach muscles to do this. We're trying to get those hip flexor muscles to work on this. If this feels way too hard for you, for whatever reason, then maybe that right heel that's lifted, maybe you bring that down to the ground. Try not to have a bunch of pressure going into that right foot though. We are just working on lifting and raising that left foot. Make sure you're breathing. Let's do a couple more on this side. And then let's switch. So now you're going to lift your left heel off the ground, the toes of the left foot stay on the ground, and now the right foot lifts and comes down. So it's lifting down about 4 to 6 inches. Try not to have a lot of pushing down with that left toe. We're just trying to get those hip flexor muscles, so the muscles that are in here working to lift that leg. We're trying not to engage the stomach. We are just trying to use those hip flexors. Make sure you're breathing as you're lifting. We'll do a couple more on this side. And then bring your feet soles together. Knees drop out to the side, coming into what we call frog in this class. So you just want to notice, how does it feel for my inner thighs, my hips? How much do they like this? Whether or not it feels like my knees are dropping evenly to each side. If this feels super uncomfortable, then maybe you want to take some blocks or some blankets and sort of push it here, sort of underneath the upper thigh to give a little bit of support. Just trying to let everything relax. You'll have a little bit of a natural arch in the low back here, but don't let it really, really arch. Take one more breath here. Bring those feet back up. Take those arms back to that sort of goalpost arm, but hands are pointing to the ceiling. And now we're going to push a little bit into the floor to squeeze those shoulder blades together. So it's a squeeze and release. Make sure you're breathing. Let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Hands come down, palms facing up. You're going to lift the heel of that right foot, and we're going to, and the toe, so the right toe stays on the ground, and then we're going to lift and lower that left foot. Trying just to use the muscles here in the hip flexors. Try not to use the stomach. Making sure you're breathing. We'll do 5 more, 4 more, 3, 2, and 1. Switching over to the other side. The heel of the left foot lifts up, the left toe is on the ground, and now we're lifting up the whole right foot, using those hip flexor muscles to lift and lower that leg. Make sure you're breathing. So we're doing this exercise because for many of us, our hip flexors are short, so tight and weak, and so we are trying to strengthen them. And they're short and weak because we sit too much. Let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring both feet down, foot soles together. Let your knees drop out to the side, coming into this frog position, and noticing how this feels on the second time. If this really hurts your hips and you feel that it's not good for you, then don't take yourself into pain. And maybe you just lay with your knees bent, foot soles on the floor, or lay straight even. So being uncomfortable in this position is okay, but pain, probably not. Take one more breath here. Bring those legs back up. And then come onto all fours. So we're on all fours, so we want our shoulders, so our hands are stacked underneath our shoulders, our knees are stacked underneath our hips. And you have a little bit of pressure on the tops of your feet. So they're not lifting, or they can be, I guess, here if you like, but really to have them flat would be good. Let's go cat, cow, or cats and dogs. So start with the tail. The tail tucks under, the low back rounds, the shoulder blades come apart, the head drops, you're an angry cat. And then you're going to lift up that tail, the belly drops, the shoulder blades squeeze together, and the head lifts. So making sure that you're breathing out and in, whichever way feels comfortable for you. But the action always starts with the tail first, so the tail tucks first, and then the tail lifts. Everything else follows. Breathe. Looking to bring some movement into your spine on this. So lifting up the tail, belly drops, shoulder blades squeeze together, head comes up. You're in a happy dog. Do one more angry cat. And then bring the spine back to neutral and sit back onto your heels. So my feet are flat on here. So this for me is quite a comfortable position. For some of you it might not be. Then come forward, tuck your toes under, and then sit back. Now this for me is quite uncomfortable, and for some people this will be fine. Come forward, tuck your toes under, sit back. So we're trying to give the feet a little bit of exercise here. We tend to not pay too much attention to our feet. We just tend to trap them into shoes, which might make them not so happy. Take it to flat feet. Come up, tuck your toes one more time. So whichever one feels awful might be the one you try to do a little bit more. Come forward, come back into that all four position. Let's take the left foot back, and then take that left foot. You're going to take the left foot, you're going to slide it over to the right. You're going to look over the right shoulder. It's a stretch down the left side. Bring everything back to center. And then the other foot. So the right foot goes back. You're going to take that right foot, you're going to slide it over towards the left, and then look over that left shoulder. So making sure, again, that you're not going into any pain, or you know that if this isn't good for you, then you're not going past that midline of the body. Bring everything forward, come back, sit back, and let's just do a couple more of those, tucking the toes, sitting back, flattening the feet, sitting back. One more time, tucking the toes, sitting back, and then flattening the feet, and sitting back. Come back to all fours. A little bit of balancing. So now take that right foot, step it back, and then bring the left hand forward. This is a bit of a balance, and so you might be able to lift up that right leg and hold. Make sure you're breathing. Try to think about, does it feel like my hips are even on this? And you are breathing. The neck tries to stay in line, so you shouldn't be looking way up, really crinking, or looking way down, trying to feel like there isn't a kink in the back of the neck. Bring everything down, take it over to the other side. Here, so if you keep your foot down, the one that goes back, then balance might be a little bit easier. If this is the first time you've done this, then maybe this is a lot to balance. Bring it down. Right foot goes back, left arm lifts. You can lift them both and breathe. Holding, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring everything down. Switch over to the other side, lifting up or keeping that foot down. Make sure you're breathing. Make sure the neck feels like there isn't a big kink in it. For 3, 2, 1, bring everything down. Let's go one more each side. Leg comes back, lifts, opposite hand, opposite leg, lift, and you are breathing, trying to keep those hips feeling like they're level. Bringing everything down. And then over to the other side, lifting up and breathing. And coming down, and then push back into child's pose. So you can have your knees together or your knees apart, coming down into something that you can sort of relax. Hands can be, or chin can be on your hands to rest here. You can stack your fists and rest your forehead on here. And you are just breathing. Take one more breath here, coming up. So grab your blocks. You're going to put your blocks in between, or your paper towel roll in between your feet, and come down onto your stomach. So your head can be on your hands, and then you're going to lift up your feet with your blocks. So this in itself can be a little bit of a challenge. So once you're up here, you're going to squeeze and release. So you are using the insides of your feet, so you want to be using your heels and your toes to push into that block. And you are breathing. The knees, if this feels really awkward, then you can put your knees a little bit apart, like about an inch apart on each side, to make it a little bit easier to push into that block and release. This is working the back side of the body. Make sure you're breathing. Let's squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come down. Now take your feet and bring them up. Bend your knees again. Flex your feet. So your feet, soles of your feet are pointing straight up to the ceiling, keeping those feet flexed. You're going to take your legs and drop them out to the side and then in. So this is wishbone as the legs drop out and in. Again, noticing how this feels for your body, how much your hips like this. Keeping the feet flexed. Let's do 3 more, 2 more. Last one.
Bring both feet to the floor. Take your right leg, bring it up as close as you can to your bum. And then you're going to tuck your tailbone under. So you're going to sort of push your hips to the floor to get a stretch in the front of the leg. If you can, that right hand can come behind you and grab that foot for a little bit more stretch. Taking this into a comfortable stretch, not something that hurts or takes you to the extreme. One more breath. Bring that right foot down, switching over to the left side. So now the left foot comes up, you take that as close to the bum as you can get it. If you can reach, you go around and reach that ankle and bring it closer. Or if you can't, then you just stay here. But again, those hip bones press towards the floor, gets your tailbone to tuck under a little bit, brings a little bit more stretch to the front. Make sure you're breathing. One more breath. Bring the foot down. Bring your forehead to the floor. Arms are straight out behind you. Arms are straight out behind you, palms facing down, head to the floor. You're going to lift up your arms and bring them down. Palms face to the floor as you lift and bring them down. This is a little bit of strength. We're working on upper back strength on this. Lift and release. 2 more. Last one. Now take your arms out to a T position. Palms face up. And now you're lifting up your arms in that T position. So thumbs point up to the ceiling. You're trying to roll those hands back as far as you can go. Arms are straight. It's still upper back. Make sure you're breathing. Do 2 more. Last one. Good. Hand over hand. Forehead on your hands. Take your feet into a pigeon-toed position. And just let everything relax. Take 1 more breath. And then roll over onto your right side. Try to get your body so that it's straight. So we'll have a tendency to maybe pike a little bit and have some bend here at the hips, but we want it to be straight. So our body's straight, our feet are flexed, we're laying on our right side. You're going to bend that right knee back, so this is going to give a little bit of balance, and then that left leg is straight. The heel, the foot is flexed like a standing foot. The heel is going to point towards the ceiling as you bring this leg up and down. So we're working, this is inner outer thigh, and you're pushing this up, and you're breathing. Let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. You can straighten that right foot or that bottom leg, so straighten that bottom leg. Take that left leg, bring it in front a little bit. So now we're going to work that bottom leg or the right leg. Again, that heel's going to point towards the ceiling and we're going to lift up. This is probably a smaller movement, so we're working more the inside of the leg on this. And you're breathing. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten that top leg. Bend the bottom leg again. That foot is back behind you. That top leg we're lifting up, leading with the heel, and breathe. So that's 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Straighten that bottom leg. The top leg comes in front for balance. Now we're lifting that bottom leg, leading with the heel for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. So now that top leg that's bent, you're going to leave it bent, drop it to the floor, roll over onto your stomach. Your leg is in like sort of a number 4 position. The left foot is towards the thigh, the right thigh. And then when you're in this position, you're trying to use your bum muscles to push your hips to the floor. You want someday for those hips to be even on the floor, but they might be nowhere near that today. You're just breathing, using those bum muscles to push those hips towards the floor for a nice stretch, inner thigh stretch. One more breath here. Straighten that leg, switch over to the other side. We're lying on the left side now. Make sure that body is straight. The bottom leg, that's the left leg, is bent at the knee. The right leg is now lifting up. We're leading with the heel as you lift up and down, and you're breathing. Working the outside of that leg. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Straighten out that bottom leg. Top leg comes in front. Now we're going to lift that bottom leg up, leading with the heel. For 2, 3. You really want to notice, again, the difference from side to side. I think I have way less motion on this. 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Straighten that top leg. Bend the bottom leg back for balance, lifting that top leg, leading with the heel for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The top leg comes in front, bottom leg straightens, lifting that bottom leg up, leading with the heel for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then that top leg that's bent, you're going to leave that bent. You're going to roll over onto your stomach, coming into the inner thigh stretch on the other side. Again, using those bum muscles to try to push your hips towards the floor. Someday, both hips will be even on the floor. Maybe not today. You're breathing, feeling a nice stretch in the inner thigh. One more breath. And then roll over onto your back. Knees are bent, foot soles are on the floor. Bring that right ankle up to the left knee. Hands are down on the floor, palms facing down. You're going to try to push that right knee away from you without using your hands. And then you're going to drop that right foot towards the left side for a twist. So even though we're in this position, that right shoulder tries not to lift up off the floor, we're trying to gently push away that right knee while we're in this twist. Head can turn towards the twist. It can look up towards the ceiling, or it can turn away from the twist. So find something that feels comfortable for you, holding this and breathing. Take a couple more breaths here. One more breath. And then bring that whole leg unit back up. Right foot sole goes down to the floor, making sure that the right foot, knee, hip roll alignment, and then left ankle goes on top of that right knee. Gently pushing that left knee away from you without using your hands, so using the muscles, and then allowing that left foot to drop towards the right.
and hanging out here. So when we're down in here, that shoulder tries not to lift up off the floor. We're gently pushing away on that left knee, is pushing away from us to add a little bit of strength into this twist. Head can turn towards the twist, looking straight up towards the ceiling or away. Making sure you're breathing. Let's take a couple more breaths here. One more breath. Bring everything back up to center. That left foot goes down to the ground. It might feel good to bring knees into chest. You might rock it out a little bit. It might even feel good to bring nose up to knees, but don't feel like you have to do this. And then bringing everything down, finding a position that you can feel comfortable in for the last few minutes. So I like this static back position where my legs are up on my block or my chair again. And just settling into this. If this isn't your favorite position in the world, then find something that is. So you could sit and just relax, or you can just lay down on the floor on your back or your stomach. Again, just finding a place of ease that you can try to let everything go. Trying to focus on your breath. Breathing in and out. If you have extra time today, feel free to stay in this relaxing position for as long as feels good for you. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.